English's Professor Simone Cleverly, and was accompanied by a self-addressed stamped envelope to be used for Shriver's reply. And there was a handwritten postscript. "I understand you do not have a telephone," Professor Cleverly wrote in a sensible ruler-straight cursive. "And so we are left this old-fashioned and somehow appropriate channel of communication, namely writing. Nevertheless, if you have any questions, please feel free to call." Shriver had immediately read the letter twice more, then again. He set the letter down on the bed, which was where he read all his mail, and stroked the furry neck of his trusty tuxedo cat, Mr. Bojangles. Who would take the trouble to play such a strange, practical joke on him, he wondered. He thought of his old friend Cecil Weimenheimer, who had once arranged a date for him with a rather convincing transvestite. But wasn't poor Cecil dead? Or it could have been Chuck Johnson, Shriver's mischievous old college roommate. Though he hadn't spoken to Chuck in at least 20 years, this definitely was the type of tomfoolery his friend would go in for. There was the time, as a bachelor party gag, Chuck had ferried Shriver around town to various bars and strip clubs, getting him drunker and drunker until some off-duty police officers Chuck had hired arrested Shriver on charges of lewd and lascivious behavior. Hilarious. Yes, only Chuck Johnson was capable of such chicanery. The reason Shriver was so suspicious of the invitation was that he was not a writer at all. He had never written any books. He had never written a page of fiction, nonfiction, poetry, drama. He had never even written a screenplay. The only writing he was capable of was the occasional fan letter to his favorite newscaster, Tina LeGros, of the Channel 17 Action News team. "Dear Ms. LeGros," he wrote just last week, "just a brief note to express my admiration for the way you conducted yourself during last evening's interview with our less than forthcoming mayor." He was very proud of these letters, some of which ran to several handwritten pages. One went on for 7, inspired by Tina's ill-conceived change of hairstyle from an attractive shoulder-length shower of blonde to one of those stiff helmet-like do's that all the lesser female newscasters favored. But Shriver was definitely not a writer. Nevertheless, to show he was a good sport, he scribbled his acceptance on a sheet of legal paper, stuffed it into the envelope, and mailed it off. "Dear Chuck," he wrote, "it will be my pleasure to attend your prestigious conference. I only hope I do not disappoint you." To his surprise, a few weeks later he received more information about the conference, as well as round-trip air tickets. "We are pleased that you will be able to attend," Professor Cleverly wrote in an accompanying note. "And don't worry about disappointing us. Your mere presence will be a great victory for the conference." In a postscript, she added, "I'm not sure who Chuck is, but we are absolutely thrilled about this." Would Chuck Johnson go to such lengths? Whoever was behind this, Shriver thought at the time, was certainly resourceful and determined. When he opened his eyes aboard Flight 1010 and looked again at the sheaf of paper in his hands, the words once more crumpled and folded in on themselves. He finished his drink and rolled an ice cube around his mouth to suck up the last of the whiskey. He wiped his forehead with the handkerchief and gazed out the airplane window. Just a few feet away, a propeller whirred invisibly. Down below, clouds floated on the air like shaving foam on water. Some resembled animals: a duck, a sheep, a sleeping cat. That one there looked like the face of his ex-wife, with her typical expression of impatience. He felt a deep, burning sense of shame as she glared at him from a mile away, mocking him. He had considered sending her a card, telling her about the conference. He even wrote one out, using a nonchalant tone to inform her that he had been invited as a guest to a prestigious literary event. But then he remembered he didn't know where she lived, and he threw the note away. Besides, she would never have believed him. "You're no writer," she would say in that voice that could cut a diamond in half. He pressed the overhead button, and moments later a flight attendant arrived wearing an expression of amused inconvenience. "May I order another whiskey and cola?" Shriver asked.